This is the Better Days podcast. I am Jerry. With me, as always, is Mr. Matt with a shark attacking him to talk about a very serious subject today.
Jaws were better days. They don't have good shark movies anymore. The shark movies now suck, okay? So, better days. I just made up why I have a shark thing behind me. You kept asking me before we started recording. Besides the symbolic, there's always a shark coming after us, inside of us.
Yes. But today we're going to discuss, when we were recording this, just trying to keep it on track here.
It's possible.
We're recording this. We're approaching the 19th anniversary of the attacks, September 11th attacks. So those are obviously not good days. Probably one of, if not the most memorable days in our generation. But we're going to try to talk about days before that. So from September 10th on back. But obviously we'll probably discuss the actual day and what changed since then. So Matt's going to get a cup of his sweet nectar of straight vodka, and we're going to take it from there. Now, we did not go to school together during this time, but we were in high school. We won't say what year. So we were between 14 and 18. And yeah, and I think we've covered this on one of our podcasts. I can't remember, like, where were you the day of? But we'll start with the day of. Or should we talk about better days, like times before it? Like what 9/11 did change? And obviously what comes to mind first is airport travel, or travel in general, which we didn't do a lot of up until this time. I don't even think I may have been on a plane once or twice before September 11th, 2001. Did you fly anytime before that?
I did for like family vacations, and we'd fly to Florida, family in Florida. I don't know, just not like all the time, but I was pretty much familiar with air travel my whole life. Not trying to brag. I was in coach, and it wasn't glamorous at all. There's a lot about the airport that isn't glamorous, but it never used to be like, oh my God, you're in trouble. And after 9/11, like, you felt like you're in trouble. And it was kind of made like, it was stressful to fly anyway, but now it's like, you might be in trouble. Like,
yeah. And we are, well, I mean, there's no secret we're white. And so, I mean,
God, dude.
Trying to, like, even like everybody, doesn't matter what race or color you are, like, it just made you feel like, you were puckered up a little tighter that day whenever you had to go through the airport, even on the airplane, even like from airport to airport.
Imagine having to smuggle drugs. I mean, how hard it was for those people.
Oh man, but
like,
that disrupted that industry for a couple of years.
I mean, in the old days, you want to talk about better days, this is before our time. I mean, you could like bring drugs on the airplane all the time. If you watched the movie Blow, it was no thing. I mean, obviously they move so much drugs that eventually you get caught, but like, you could take a firearm on the plane. I mean, people hijack planes all the time in the old days. They take them to Cuba and stuff, and it happened in the Middle East as well. They'd hijack planes, and it was just like nobody cared. It wasn't like a big joke, but it was just like, I don't know, like, you could smoke on planes, you could do a lot of stuff on planes, and then it became like,
not in the 90s. Well, I mean, interrupt, but yeah, we're talking about years. Yeah, I see.
Smoking, like, as a whole, kind of went out the window in all aspects. You could smoke in a hospital with someone dying, like in the old days. But yeah, in the 90s is when that started going away. But like, it used to be just like a metal detector and a wand. I mean, now it became the TSA became this whole branch of like airport law enforcement. And I mean,
like, still almost 20 years later, it's still the same, at least the same feeling for passengers.
And I think not to, like, I'm trying to make it serious with the shark thing so everyone takes it seriously.
And those really realistic teeth. I don't know if you can see it. Like
This
teeth just
happened
look
to
like,
somebody. This happened to somebody. This could happen to you. So this is a little side story for our episode. So um, they won in the aspect of they changed the way we lived our lives. The terrorists, Osama bin Laden, like we've never been the same ever since then as far as airport travel. And like that'll never go back to, yeah, just walk on a plane, you know, bring your firearm, you know, like that'll never go back to that.
yeah. And so, in this to preface, we're not discussing any type of conspiracy theory or nothing like that. And I gotta be sure of that
Sharks,
too.
shark caused 9/11.
We're gonna get booted off YouTube for saying that, spreading false information. So no, okay, yeah. So, and if you if you also think of what really picked up after that, it sounds like we're just talking about after it, but Fox News pre 9/11, Fox News post 9/11. I feel like, and granted, you know, we have a little bit of memory of being a semi, not even an adult, of times before 9/11, but I don't remember like the news cycle at all. And after 9/11, it was just news all the time. You always had to pay attention of what the threat level was, and you know, just the fear mongering, and you know who's going to be next and where are we going to attack next. But before that, and obviously we're just talking about the 90s, because obviously there was so much of that in the Cold War, and you know everybody during the 80s, everybody was worried about getting the bomb dropped on them. So I'm not saying it was 100% peacetime during pre 9/11, but at least during our time. So I guess we'll talk about the 90s. We'll
It was also
mention the
though
90s.
It was also though, like, yes, like horrible stuff, but this was like the second attack on American soil besides Pearl Harbor. So it wasn't just like, oh yeah, like Gen X had the Cold War where you had to like worry about like the Americans, the TV show happening in real life. I mean, we had like the two big buildings with planes and shit blown up in you know, rammed into New York City. I think that trumps a lot of it. I mean, you got JFK, you got Pearl Harbor, you got 9/11. Trying to think of all these big catastrophes: the Hindenburg, the Titanic. Shit,
I just
a lot of shit in World War II. I mean,
Yeah, and then yeah, I mean there's a lot any wartime. I mean, not a lot of the wars, because a lot of the wars in the 19th century or 20th century took place not too close to America, but yeah, you're right. There was only just a handful, and this just changed everybody's viewpoint, no matter what age you were, that you could get attacked, you could get bombed at any moment.
people got real Islamophobic. You know, if that's the correct
Yeah,
term. Like they really started taking it out on Muslims, and there were people making videos over in the Middle East going ha ha ha, and you know, it was just people emotions were running high. It really was a stressful time. I mean, kids in my high school, I remember a kid laughing about it. So, I mean, everyone had their kind of, everyone had their own view of it. I mean, um,
but it also seemed like maybe not so much right after it, but definitely a couple years after it, you always just felt like you were getting tracked, or if you said the wrong thing, like you're going to get put on a list. And that's how we live now. You know, it's almost like it's not even, it's almost a joke now, where you know if you say something, you know, you're at least you're or that, or you're going to get an ad, like you know someone's listening to. But I felt before that, like pre-Patriot Act,
I was trying to think of that, the Patriot Act. That's what it
the
was.
Patriot, yeah, you
Yeah.
know, it's almost like, and it goes hand in hand with cell phone technology, but you know, you could practically say, and not only that, after 9/11, like you had to be patriotic, and if you weren't, you were automatically a terrorist. You were automatically against this country, and that was
Everybody
just the
was though.
rhetoric.
Like Bush was like Trump, or like everyone was just laying into him all the time. I mean, he's not exactly like Trump, but as far as like the media hated him and like all the comedic people were ripping on him, and he was just a big target. And they laid off him for like a few weeks, but then they went back at him. It was almost like, hey, everyone kind of got together and was like, let's not like take digs, let's not make it political. And then like once he started going into Iraq, it's like, all right, let's go. They started attacking him again. And but people were like, yeah, kind of like, I don't know, it sounds corny, but it did bring the United States and maybe possibly a lot of people in the world together and be like, this is horrible. And Bush was not a popular president, even though he won twice. I remember like everyone and all the young people hated him. So, and he got this 9/11 thing. And of course, there's conspiracies and all that shit about him and stuff. And if you've watched Vice, they take a lot of liberties on what happened, but I really don't think it's that bad. Dick Cheney is like who kind of like they say took over as far as like the war on terror. Yeah, like we're coming for
the Bush administration.
But it was Dick Cheney though, kind of like Bush is like the puppet, and it was like we're coming for you. I mean, I remember him saying we're going to smoke them out. We're coming for you. It was like tough guy stuff. It was like we're getting you. And everyone was like,
Look at the business of it all. Just look how much money that Halliburton made off the war, and war's profitable.
Have you seen Vice?
It's a great movie.
What did you think of it?
Loved it.
Do you think it was a fair portrayal of Dick Cheney or like a smear campaign?
I didn't know Dick Cheney, so I don't know.
Well, historically you did, so I mean, not
personally. It seems like it. I mean, there's other things too. There's other pieces, we'll say. I mean, call them documentaries, call them whatever you want, but to kind of portray the same thing. So I don't think it was too far out of the wheelhouse of what was said that really happened. Like, just follow the money. Like, it's not, they're just facts. So like, who, how much money they made off, certain things that happened over there. But it just when you pull back and just look at, the general attitude, and then there were so many things that happened, after 2008, there's economic hardships, but it just seemed like shit hit the fan, and then we never fully recovered from it.
It was like a wound, and we never fully healed it from it.
Yeah, and like I said, we're also small. We're just almost from 1991, 92 to 2000. There were good times. There's not a lot of like, the biggest scandal of the 90s was President Clinton getting a beach in the Oval Office. At least in my memory, like the biggest scandal.
Columbine.
That's true. That was late 90s. That was 99.
Unfortunately, we've had many more Columbine since then. But that was like the very first time that ever happened. Not the very first time, but like, I don't know. It changed a lot of stuff with schools. But yeah, it was pretty much uneventful.
Well, you can even start with 1999 because that happened in 99, but then the fear of Y2K, which we'll probably go into detail, even though it's probably essentially gonna be the same thing as this episode, because it's just, Y2K was January 1st, 2000. But I think fear up to that, like, I just remember so much, so many people were worried about losing all their money. And, I was just worried about my computer blowing up.
Like missiles would be launched and stuff.
Yeah, like when you're an adult, like, and of course the fear they just sold that, we don't know anything that's electronic based can either blow up or malfunction, or, the grid can shut down, which, shoot, if that happened today a lot, that would be a really bad problem. But
supposed to happen in 2035, like the same issue.
Why 2035?
Because that's where it's like the computers are programmed to. Like,
yeah,
they're all programmed to like 1999, and then it switched over 2000. Everything was going to go to zero, and like, we live off the grid, and it's like The Walking Dead. I mean,
yeah, that's all it takes.
I was at your house that night. Remember, I spent the night at your house on New Year's Eve.
You did?
Yeah. God. You know what ruined it? It was like a big spoiler alert, because you saw Europe, like it was like New Year's Eve, like at 3 o'clock. Oh, yeah. So you saw like nothing bad happen.
Well, not even Europe. It was Australia. Yeah. Like 11 in the morning our time.
It's like they're not burning to the ground. So
yeah, I do. That's probably my only visual of. I think I was riding in the car with my dad, and it came on the radio, like, well, I think we're going to be okay, because Australia, it just turned midnight in Australia at 10 in the morning, and the world's still there. Like, they're still running. Like, okay. Us Yeah, whatever. How old are? Why do we keep hiding our age? We're old. We're not young.
That's what young people do, is they always say like how old they were.
I was 14 during Y2K. No, I don't remember you spending the night. I don't. What did we
It was
do?
on New Year's Eve. I remember.
It was just me and you.
No.
Did we have a party that night? I
No.
can't remember.
You had like two of your little cousins were there, and then like their mom was there, like your aunt.
Oh God, yeah, I don't.
Around the
I don't
barn,
remember.
like enjoying some champagne a little too much, and then yeah, it was kind of like disappointing in a way that like nothing bad happened. It wasn't memorable. It wasn't memorable.
Apparently not, because I don't remember it. Apparently not. Spoiler alert: we got spoiled.
Yeah.
Like reading the end of a show before you watch it. So yeah, so that fear was kind of like, it started even before the September 11th attacks. You know, it's almost
Mistrust,
like
distrust.
it's a taste of things to come. You know, we're still living that. We're still in different ways. But yeah, I'm trying to think of what else 9/11 really impacted, like how life was better before it. Is there anything you can think of? Because
Well,
we could talk about after in the bad, the bad times.
I
We
mean,
can talk about that for
the
hours.
whole thing was an attack on American soil. Like you never had like someone, a foreign entity, like kill a bunch of people. And I mean, up until that day, it's like that, like it didn't, the whole atmosphere of life kind of changed, because once that happened, like, it could possibly happen again. And you never thought it was a possibility. And then the way it happened through air travel, I mean, air travel, nobody thought anything about air travel. And then it's like they had these box cutters of all things that they used, and like it just shut down everything for a long time. And like that has never happened before. And I think we had like a general mistrust amongst ourselves, a general mistrust against the government. There's a lot of mistrust against the Islamic community. And I think, as it progressed into the Iraq war, it just became more and more divided once again. But like for that 1 week, I think everyone was like, yeah, we all love each other and shit. And
Yeah.
we're patriotic. And, now I bet there's people who probably think it's cool and stuff, like, yeah, we deserve it. I mean, I don't bet. I know there's people that think that. I mean, back then you would have got like beat down for that. I mean, people would have
Like
beat you down.
Americans thinking that, like people in this
Yeah,
country thinking that.
there's people that like are like pro 9/11 and stuff, and they're in this country and run their mouths about it. I see it all the time. I don't engage in them. I'm not gonna like talk to someone like that. But like you can get away with that now. You can get away with like saying all kinds of stuff. Like back then, like you couldn't be as unpatriotic as you can be today. Like people like they got it good as far as wanting to be unpatriotic. Like they don't know they don't know how good they have it. I mean, if you tried that at 9/11 times, no way.
And this has been happening for years. I mean, the Vietnam War, the Cold War in the 80s. Like, this isn't new. It's just this happened in the digital age of 24-hour news cycle. Like there wasn't 24-hour news back in the Vietnam days and the Cold War days. There's just your 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock news with Walter Cronkite, and that's it. So I think that always existed, that mistrust in the government, and the government, and then the people not, believing in the war and believing we should be over there. That's nothing new. We've experienced that. Americans, not we, but Americans have gone through that for years. But this, we took a break in the 90s for a little bit, but then after that, it just kind of shifted back into those days. And then you're surrounded by, the Fox News and the CNNs just constantly reminding you that you should be in fear. You could be attacked. Not even by a bomb. You can get anthrax mailed to your house. You can get a package.
Oh yeah, remember anthrax stuff? That scare?
Yeah, it just
remember that?
It brought it to, it brought it to your home, the fear, like it did in the 80s. I mean, from what not my remember, but just reading up on and watching certain shows and certain documentaries, that anybody believed that Russia could drop a nuke on us at any time. So that affected where you lived anywhere. But as a kid, a kid in the 80s and the 90s, we didn't live through that. Our parents didn't live through that, at least while they were raising us. That kind of died down a little bit. And then after 2001, it was, no matter where you live, if you left the house, you could, get a bomb dropped on you, or just a group of people in trucks can start unloading bullets into you. And that's kind of been the same way ever since. It's I mean, we're not even going to talk about 2020. It's kind of the same. It's kind of the same. You leave your house, you get reminded daily that if you leave your house, you could get blown up or shot or catch something that could end your life or make it bad times for you.
Well, I think you hit it on the head with the cable news thing, because the 24-hour cable news cycle started going up in the 80s. And you had like Ruby Ridge, you had Waco, you had the O.J. Simpson trial. I mean, you had some good stuff. And then it starts to like just get bigger and bigger and bigger into like the 2000s. Then boom, 9/11. And then you got this cable news cycle just going crazy at everybody with something not that you can just watch from afar, like a trial, like the OJ trial, but something that's a direct threat to you and something that could be even more of a threat to you at any time now. So I think it was manipulated a lot. And that's something that they didn't have, the cable news cycle didn't have that strong foothold in getting people worked up as. Maybe they did. I don't remember. Fox News was never on my radar. None of that shit was never on my radar until probably President Barack Obama. That's when I started like really paying attention. But you had to, because it was such much a part of it during the 9/11 era, because it was like, God, I need to watch the news. Am I gonna be hurt? Is there gonna be a bombing? Oh my God.
What terror level threat are we today?
Oh,
what color are we today, Mr. Ashcroft? Mr. Ashcroft, please tell me. And then, okay, it's red. Is red bad? Is red good? No, red's bad. Okay, what's good? Is green good? No, green's bad. Okay, everything's bad. Just what levels of bad?
That's exactly how I felt it was. I mean, I felt it was manipulated.
Like everything. And it's just, and obviously the only thing, so it canceled everything that day. As we've discussed before, we were supposed to go to a concert.
Dave Navarro.
That would have been a good one. Maybe not. Who knows?
He probably still wanted to play.
Probably.
He probably didn't even know what was going on.
It's like, I drove all the way here. Yeah, and you can still say the better days of that week to month. We say pre and post 9/11, but like you said, almost like the best days were the week to month afterwards, even a couple months, when no one really knew, if they could be funny, if they could, I just remember the first SNL after 9/11. Do you remember who the host was?
Was it Giuliani?
I don't think he was a host. I think he was on it.
I remember his famous line. He had a famous line. It was great.
Back when everybody loved Giuliani.
Yeah, that's better days for him, because he was a hero. No one respects him now.
The better days of Rudy Giuliani. Well, what were his words? I can't remember.
They kind of have a memorial, because, I mean, SNL is in New York City. Of course, they have to have like kind of a memorial, and they might have had some officers and firemen and women, and Lauren's up there, and they got some cast members up there, and Lauren and Giuliani's up there.
I do.
Lauren says, "Can we be funny now?" or something, and Giuliani's like, "Why start now?"
Why start? That's so great. No, but you don't remember? It may have been the first skit after that. I can't remember, but you don't remember Will Ferrell and the flag bikini, or the flag shorts?
That was commentary on people going overboard with the Patriots.
Was that episode?
I don't think so. I think that was further down the line.
I thought it was.
I think it was still tentative to mock that stuff. It was still.
I don't know. I feel like anyway. I just you the man, Dale. You the man. USA. But yeah, and then everybody had this unity where it's just funny when you watch things during that era. It's like, oh yeah, this is around 9/11. As we discussed in previous episodes, I don't think I watched it live, but I remember wrestling. Was it SmackDown or Raw? One of them were like, they brought everybody out and they, played the Star Spangled Banner or something. Just everything kind of stopped and just everybody took remembrance, and it was like you said, just everybody in this country experienced it, and so we all felt united for at least
We were bound
a
together
week.
by a trauma, unless besides the kid that thought it was funny at my high school. Bill Maher said some stuff on his show politically incorrect, and he like lost his show. They fired him, and now they probably like
That's when the backlash started. It was that's when the government took control of what songs could be played on the radio, and how violent could movies be, and what could you show on TV, and that was the start of it. That was the start of it all.
Mom, it's rated mature. Can I watch it?
And then what year was the Nipplegate? That wasn't the year after, because that was U2. I remember U2 did the flag. It may have been 2 years after that.
That was 03 or 04.
03.
That was in SIUC.
So that's kind of like that was the beginning of it all, and then it just that grip of the government.
Yeah, remember Better Days in the Super Bowl halftime shows when they showed nipples? Remember the Better Days like that?
Oh yeah. I don't think we could do a conspiracy theory episode of Better Days. Remember the Better Days of conspiracy theories? I still think that was planned.
It was. It totally was.
Yeah, you can just tell. You can tell. I don't know. Anyway.
If my video cuts out, it's because it's a conspiracy theory and they're trying to silence me. But it was totally better. Or it was totally better. It was totally planned. And they invite JT back to the Super Bowl to do a terrible, terrible performance, but they don't invite Janet. I mean, come on. She showed her nipple. She doesn't get to come back. I mean, come on.
Banned for life. Well, if you look at it, he did it. He's the one that
he ripped it off,
quote unquote. Yeah, and she gets blacklisted. We're going on a tangent here, but still,
well, it's post 9/11. It's how everything's changed. We had 9/11, and then it's like we can't watch stuff on TV or radio. I mean, that's when they went after the radio. Started like finding Howard, who I was listening to the day of 9/11. He told me,
really?
That the towers have been hit and we are under attack. And then I had to go to school, which was, not good.
Yeah, the only thing I remember hearing on the way to school, it may have been Howard, I can't remember, but when someone said it, and like the visualization of how you think it was like, oh, that's not that bad. It's a plane hit it. Okay. At least me personally.
First it was like an accident. First it was like, oh wow, a plane is hit.
Right. We didn't have any news. Yeah, I feel like
it's like boom, another one. Oh shit! And there's one hijacked. Oh no! Like
headed towards the Pentagon. Every class was listening to it on the radio, and then we had it on TV. We had a TV in the cafeteria, and that's where I watched the towers fall. Oh crap!
Yeah,
this is some shit.
But we saw everyone, not everyone, but a lot of people in New York City come together and help each other out and save each other. And that is, I guess, would be the sum of the Better Days, is through a tragedy and something horrific that cost lives and changed the way we treat each other and view the world. You could saw like kind of like the best in humanity, where people did like help out and run in and save people. Steve Buscemi, classic actor, volunteered to be a fireman, or no, he was a fireman, but like suited up for him. And then he captained Seeger for so many years. I mean, it was like, I'm proud to do this. Like in World War II, I'm proud to go fight and fight the Nazis. I'm proud to go fucking fight and like get these people out of the towers. And you just don't see that anymore. I don't see people like proud to help each other or proud, any kind of pride or anything like that. It's like we're shamed. And maybe we should be. I don't know.
Yeah, I can't imagine that. I went to New York for the first time earlier this year, and we were in the subway, we were talking to one guy, and it was kind of an odd story because he had a bunch of balloons. It's just a weird thing you see on the subway. And somehow 9/11 came up. I don't know how it came up, but I just can't imagine, because like we were in Manhattan and you're essentially on an island. So if a major event happens, you're on you can't go anywhere. The subway, they showed the subway systems, and the guy said he pretty much walked all day home. I don't know where, I can't remember where he lived. He lived somewhere off the island, either Brooklyn or somewhere, I can't remember. And we're like, well, man, what were you thinking? He goes, well, I knew it happened and I had to get home. And it's just, he didn't act like he was, scared out of his mind or it's a big deal. He goes, well, I knew I had to walk. So, it's hard for us to even compare, the fear.
We got to watch it on TV in class. So we got a free day. as terrifying and unnerving as it was, we didn't have to deal with it. I mean, New York is the biggest. It's like the center of our country. So, I mean, if New York goes down, a lot of things go down for the rest of the country. I mean, there's the stock exchange. I mean, there's like a lot of entertainment there. I mean, there's a lot of things in New York City that translates or transmits throughout the country, or we're affected by it. So it's not the capital of the country, but in a way it is. So like
It's the heart.
it's the heart. So we got like they basically stabbed us in the heart pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
And it was nice. Everyone thinks of New Yorkers as these like stereotypical Italian, like I'm walking here and
Yeah.
you get out of my face, but like rude is what I'm being stupid, but rude, short,
Indirect. Yeah.
yeah, like get out of my face. I'm gonna, I'm gonna punch you. You know what I mean? Like, it could go on and on with the Stunad. I'm watching The Sopranos, but they show compassion. You know what I mean? Rude, Jersey Shore people. I mean, I'm being stupid. Like you saw the best of humanity out of a city that's supposed to be one of the roughest places in the world. People like, disappear and never come back. You saw people help each other.
And like we were talking about that, we saw that everywhere on TV afterwards, like every show and live show, not scripted shows, obviously. Before that week to, I don't know, a month or 2 months until we started talking about war, that was everybody around the country felt for New York and felt for the people who lived through it. Yeah, and that's the better part of this whole thing. Didn't last very long, but
I'd say it lasted up until the Iraq War. Once they started making,
that's what I mean. Once they started talking about war and retaliation and everything,
I think if they would have nailed Osama bin Laden right away, or they went after him and got him, like everyone would have been like, "Hooray, we're number one." But then after going through that Iraq War, and then we were still in the Iraq War with Barack Obama, right? President Obama. Yeah. So he got us out of that. I mean, he got Osama bin Laden, but if we just didn't get an immediate, there was no closure. You know what I mean? There's no closure. Like people didn't see the point in going into Iraq.
Well, that's when they, I'll just call them they, they took advantage of the situation.
The media.
They just stretched. Well, the circle, the media, the government.
Yeah. And they. That's a good term.
They. They took advantage of it, and we were Americans constantly were, living in fear, and we were reminded of it every day if you watch the news. Kind of like
and what did people do? They watched the news because they wanted to know. It was like you were trapped almost.
Mm-hmm.
It was like you're trapped. It's like, well, I'm just going to turn it off. I don't want to hear about it. It's like, you don't want to hear about some subway bombing, You don't want to hear about like some anthrax in the mail. It's like, no, but I guess I got to survive.
And the better days where you could wear, if you wanted to, I'm not saying you needed to, but you could wear this isn't, but like a Mexico shirt or a Canada shirt or a France jersey, or what I'm saying. But like after that, at least for like a couple of years, like why are you wearing other countries? Why are you representing the other countries' flags or colors? What are you, not American? You get out.
Was that like nationalism? Basically, we kind of formed like a nationalist country where it was like, well, it's good to have pride in your country, but like, it got to a point where it was like a little club where it's like, America or, you're a traitor pretty much.
Yeah, America, get out.
Well, it's not that simple. I mean, there's an ocean. I mean,
well, not Canada, Mexico.
I've tried. Well, Canada sucks, so.
I think I remember correctly, I never went there, but I thought like even before 9/11, you could go anywhere in North America without a passport.
No, Canada, you need a passport. Trust me.
Canada, okay. Yeah. In Mexico,
they suck.
And better, even though they renamed it, but Better Days French fries or Freedom Fries. Remember they changed because France had something to do with, I don't know, the media. I can't remember the details, but France pissed us off, and we're like, well, yeah, we're not gonna call them French fries now. Freedom Fries.
I call them French fries still.
Oh yeah, as soon after that. Well, I think we'll say the Better Days of like, God, just for a while there was just so much propaganda and flags, and there still is now, and there was before it, but it was just full full on. Like the people who printed who made money printing a flag on something, they could retire in a year.
Oh
Probably
yeah,
did.
you had stock in the flag company, like invested in Bob's flag company. Like
Bob's
man,
flag.
you're gonna be rich, man.
He's sponsoring our next show, I think, if he's still in business. He hasn't called us back.
Chad's water. I was supposed to have some kind of water, to like bring on the show, but it was yellow,
Chad's
and
water took a hit after Corona.
it did. This water was yellow, and I said it looks like piss, and then he gave me like a label that said not piss, and I'm just like, it's not gonna work. Like,
And then he tried to rebrand himself to Chad's hand sanitizer. That
it's
was even worse.
it's
And
not the same.
my hands still are like I have marks on my
It's
hands
not the
from using the
water though. People are
sanitizer.
alleging that it's just the water that you dump on your hands, and it's not true.
Well, he's claiming if you've been drinking his water for years, you're immune. Like he claims he has the answer to beating
He's getting
this
sued for that
disease.
though.
I know.
There's like a
Those are the
class action
those are
suit.
the better days. The better days of Chad's water and Chad's hand
I don't
sanitizer.
think there were better days. I think it was a disaster from the beginning, and he shouldn't have gave us money. Now we're gonna get called into court probably and have to talk about shit he said to us.
Anyway,
Wear a
yeah,
mask.
I'll wear a mask. I can't think of other better days before 9/11 attacks. But it's still.
Here's my question. Were there better days, or were we just kids, man? And then once
That's
9/11
that's
happened, we realized how screwed up the world really is. You know what I mean? Is that what it
like
is? That sorry.
and the world was screwed up before that. It's just
Oh yeah.
that was our first experience of it. You know, you talk to our parents and our grandparents and like, well, yeah, every decade we went through some mess, not to this magnitude, but you know, the fear and the people against the government not trusting or believing in the government ideals. That's nothing new. But I feel like as a kid, us as kids, either we didn't know, we didn't pay attention to the news, or just there were, you know, simpler times from '92 on up after the Gulf War. But we got our dose. We got our dose of it. So on September 11th, 2001. That's all I got on that.
That's all I have to say about that.
That's all I have to say.
My mom said that 9/11 was an inside job.
You can't say that. You can believe it for now, but you can't say that.
I don't believe it, and I'm not.
Actually, that's another thing. You could probably say that now, but you cannot question. Not question at least
when did Alex Jones start his shit?
See,
like
I think it was like 2005, 2006.
Safely enough years away.
The documentary started coming out that really, I don't know. They could have been false. They could have been made up. They could have been doctored. But around that time, the stuff started to come out. It's like, oh, it really made you question things, or at least just, you know, put it out there that things could be not the way they seem. We'll leave it at that.
Well, there is no absolute truth, so
right.
Everyone's version of reality is their own reality. So, what really happened? I don't know. I mean, that's deep. So,
very deep. So yeah, didn't seem like better day. This episode didn't. I mean, it's mostly post 9/11, but you really can't talk too much of better days. Just airport travel, and when was caller ID? Was that after that? I feel like that was around that time. I just remember you can make a phone call and just the person who picked up didn't know who it was.
Oh yeah, I like that aspect. You can't prank call people anymore.
Put the Jerky Boys right out of business.
Are they still around?
I don't know.
But
I think Crank Yankers is coming out again.
Is it really?
I thought so.
Better
I thought I
days.
read.
Way to go.
Yeah.
Puppet. Can they do that special ed kid anymore?
Probably not.
That's probably too offensive.
Probably.
Oh.
I don't know. Maybe we'll get into those days, the days of prank calling. That's how Sandler got. I remember hitting home videos of him doing prank calls, but I don't think that's how he got like noticed.
It's the original art form.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how like almost every morning show for a long time was all prank calls. A lot of them are fake.
We'll
But
cover this. We'll cover this in an episode, Better Days Before Social Media. And
when you
that'll
can harass someone on the phone and get away with it.
yeah, that'll cover like big tech. or just listen to people who did it as a form of entertainment.
Just play prank calls.
Maybe we'll do that next episode.
Remember, I was at your house and I was like a Frank Zillionaire and I was calling that lady. She's like,
I have that. I have that recorded somewhere on like a mini cassette.
Well, I may run for president someday, so destroy it.
It's in a box somewhere. All right, but anyway, we are the Better Days podcast. Hopefully, we made you feel a little better. Maybe not. I don't know. Subscribe, like us, search Better Days podcast. I think we're out there now. We have at least enough episodes to be picked up by Google. So just Google us. Yeah, we are the Better Days podcast. Until next time, feel good. Feel good. Do, 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 do.